Welcome to the main event.
Welcome to the main event of Dynamite Breakdown, AEW Dynamite, August 12th, 2026. I am your host, Brandon BT Taylor. So little programming update here. Elite Sports Take will be recorded Thursday and released Friday. Internet issues came down Tuesday, which resulted in a delay in that. But tonight's Dynamite, I honestly forget where the fuck tonight's Dynamite truly was. I don't think it really matters at this point. The crowd sucked, but you know what? The show was terrible too. With 3 weeks to go, 3 weeks ago, 13 days out. Yeah, 13 days out, a little under 2 weeks to go, some shit like that. But no. Doing mental math here. But we're about 3 weeks to go to this shit. And tonight's show felt like a giant nothing. Nothing progressed. A lot of this shit has cooled off big time. And then, just like you get with the Continental Classic to a degree, these tournament matchups don't make great television when you're building your shows around them. The Continental Classic has its moments, don't get me wrong. And so has this Continental Cup so far. It's had its moments. Like example, I think Jack Perry, John Moxley tonight main event was a really good match. I think David Finlay and Jay White, for Jay White, that was probably one of his best matches he's had since joining AEW. But you had Osprey and Omega kick off the night pretty much. Nothing really got progressed there. Same old shit. Willow and Mercedes has completely cooled off. I don't think anyone truly cares about Divine Dominion and the Brawling Birds. I know a lot of people are off on Kevin Knight and Darby Allin. I don't know how you can sit here now and say Darby Knight should be happening, considering Kevin Knight already beat him. And then we'll get into the Chris Jericho shit tonight that happened tonight. What the fuck was that? And then another thing, too much Don Callis on the show. Way too much Don Callis. We did not need that much Don Callis. We got to be consistent here with this one. A lot of people shit on, and including myself, shit on the fact that Danhausen's in like 3 different fucking segments throughout the night. There was no reason for Don Callis to be a part of not 1, not 2, but 3 segments tonight. It made no sense for the opening one. He was not needed. He's not in this fucking story to begin with between Omega and Osprey. Made sense for the Jericho Knight one as Knight's manager. And then now you're already teasing yet another Don Callis family member leaving in Kyle Fletcher. But he had a backstage segment too. There's just too much Don Callis tonight. And Don Callis is not good television. Not in this stage of the game. Not now, not in 2026. Definitely not on the road to your WrestleMania, your version of WrestleMania and All in London. This show, I said on Monday, the Raw show was pretty solid. It was a solid show. This, for being 3 weeks away from your biggest show of the year, and this is the shit you put out, this is the kind of show you put out tonight. insane, absolutely fucking insane. But let's kick it off. Will Ospreay got into it. Will Ospreay came out, cut a promo about a year ago, Mexico City, dealt with his unfortunate his grandfather's death. Pretty much a rah-rah speech on Wembley is his moment. Main event hype, you know what it is. Don Callis randomly interrupts, talks about how Osprey and Omega are 1-1, and he was on the corner of both the winning sides in this feud. And then out of nowhere, you get Rapogi Vice and the rest of the Don Callis family bums, the bum squad of the Don Callis family, coming out and attacking Will Ospreay. Then Omega makes the save. Omega cuts a promo on him. Pretty much once again, that one's another big nothing here. And like I want to like the show. And like I said on Monday, give me a reason to care. I like Will Ospreay. I like Kenny Omega. We're teetering towards, and I'm probably not the only one here, towards not really giving a shit about this match now. This the booking has been very up and down. The all-in build so far has been very up and down. They had the hot week 2 weeks ago, and then last week was a big nothing. And then this week, pretty much everything that was hot is officially cooled down heading into All In. But then we get the Continental Tournament explanation review of the 3 matches that happened on Collision. In case you didn't watch Collision, don't blame you. Most people don't. But Claudio Castagnoli, Orange Cassidy, and Eddie Kingston all won their first round matchups, will advance to the reseeding of the second round. That is coming up. And then we get to the triple threat match for the number 2 spot in the Casino Gauntlet match. MJF, Speedball Mike Bailey, and Nick Wayne. So I see a lot of people be like, well, why is MJF facing these guys? Who do you want him to face? Like, obviously MJF's going to take the win, but you don't want to. They're not doing anything with Speedball Mike Bailey as much as some people thought that once the Kevin Knight stuff happened, that he was going to be some major single star. Aside from being given a hometown W, he hasn't done much. What has he done? And then Nick Wayne is challenging Bandito for the Ring of Honor World Championship at Death Before Dishonor coming up. But on AWTV, all Nick Wayne has been is a loser. But this match was solid. I will give it this. It was a really solid match tonight. For this, MJF picked up the win, submitting Nick Wayne. The one true championship is dumb. It is so dumb. It is beneath MJF, in my opinion. The logic of it does not make any sense. And I saw someone trying to explain, well, he lost. Well, Will Ospreay stopped him from cheating. So that's why he's good. You can't justify it. It's dumb. It made sense when CM Punk did it a few years ago because he technically never lost the title. MJF lost the title. Technically, he lost the title clean at the end of the day. It's not, I don't get it. You easily could have just done MJF Andrade separately and not done the Casino Gauntlet. But this is where you're at now with MJF. And it goes back to my earlier opinion, go back a few episodes. I don't know what MJF is without the championship. I mean, actually being the champion. Because most of his shit when he's not the champion over the last few years has not been good. So is this there? He needs a prop with them to be interesting a bit, like at least. Maybe that's what it is. Who knows? But the one true championship is not. It's not working. It's not making sense. Hasn't been one of the bright spots of the shows, at least since Double or Nothing. He had two good backstage promos with Will Ospreay, and everyone think, "Oh, he's back. He deserves the main event." For as cold as the main event of All In is right now, MJF should not be in the main event of All In. Gas might be a little hot take there, but they fucked up when they had Darby win the title off him because that took away all momentum MJF had. And then when he got it back, he didn't really recapture it. He didn't really do much. His character work really wasn't that good for the 1 month he had it, month and a half, whatever. So with MJF, it really just boils down to what is he at this point? What is he? Because the one true championship is not working. So you're gonna have him feud with Andrade over the national championship, which is probably next. And then, yeah. So after the match, MJF cut a promo, did the old play Andrade's music and pretend to be scared, but Andrade's really not there. Really, it wasn't good stuff, and the crowd didn't really care. This crowd was bad tonight. Don't get me wrong. The show wasn't good either, but this crowd was not good at all. A little sidebar here. Big Show, Paul White on commentary. Little, I wasn't expecting that, to be honest. Was not expecting them to shove Paul White on commentary for Dynamite. I don't watch Collision, so this is kind of the first time I've heard Big Show on commentary. Maybe he'd be better if he wasn't with Excalibur and Tony Schiavone here, but I'd go about average for him tonight. I mean, there was sometimes you didn't even realize he was on commentary because the other two just wouldn't shut the fuck up. But after the MJF promo, we get a fallout from Collision, Divine Dominion in the Brawling Birds bar. Cut a promo on how, in front of their family, their husbands, etc., they're going to disappoint everyone in their country, and then they smash some beer on the ground. Then we had the commercial backstage segment with Mick Foley interviewing Jay White and the Bang Bang Gang. Jay White, David Finlay next. For a match that was years in the making, it really sucks that this was just a throwaway in this tournament. It should have been a bigger deal. It probably should have been the match they did at Redemption instead of that god awful chain match tag team match they did. But once again here, like I said earlier, with AEW, they don't disappoint on most matches here with AEW. That's one thing I can always give them. The match quality is for the most part always there, and the reason I'm saying most part, we'll get to pretty much the 9 o'clock hour here in a bit. But For Jay White, I thought this was one of his best matches since joining AEW, and for David Finlay, this was clearly his best match since joining AEW. Jay White picked up the win. So, like I said with the Luchador tournament, it's pretty obvious they're going Penta here. With this tournament, I wish I could say it's obvious it's Jon Moxley, Jay White finals. And it should be, with Jay White winning the Continental Cup and Championship at the end. I don't know if it's a guarantee. Should be. But your finals for this tournament should be Jon Moxley versus Jay White for the Continental Championship, with Jay White winning. But yeah, good match. This was a good match. This was probably one of two really good matches tonight. And once again, the tournament matchups, they're good. But when you're building your shows around them just to fill up television time, it kind of hurts the motion of the show. Just because one match is good doesn't mean the whole show is good. And that seems to be a misconstrued thought that a lot of fans have. Because you'll see on X, a lot of people are going at the Chris Jericho thing, but you'll see some legit people, AEW people, be like, well, this was a good show. The main event was good. The MJF match was good tonight. The Jay White, David Finlay match was good. Completely ignoring that the 9 o'clock hour was straight ass. Like, what? I just don't get it. So we go to commercial break after that. The new trios champions, Hangman and Page, Bandito, and Brody King appear, celebrating last week's win. Then out of nowhere, Swerve's music hits. Swerve comes out by himself. It sadly looks like here that they're going to shove Kofi and Austin Creed with Swerve Strickland. And that should not be how you debut the New Day, as pretty much secondary guys to Swerve Strickland. Your trios division, I get it. It's a clusterfuck. You kind of want to make it important. But your tag division desperately needs teams because you have watered down that tag division for this fucking trios division. Because after Cope and the Bucks face off, one of those teams are done for those titles. They're not going to run back Cope and Christian versus the Bucks. At least I don't think. God knows when FTR is actually going to be returning. I'm not sure the Machine Guns have even fucking wrestled yet. But like, you have actual trios that you could use. You have Shane Taylor Promotions. You have the Rascals, who, what a waste of a signing they are. You have the Death Riders. You have Don Callis family. There's 84 fucking members. You can build a trios there. You have the conglomeration still. You have the demand. Like, you have legit options for the trios division to where you don't need to do Swerve in the New Day. I don't think it's a good idea. I think the trios division is below Swerve and Hangman on top of that too. But you don't need to be debuting the New Day as pretty much Swerve Strickland's side pieces. You don't. Let them be in the tag division. All out, give us New Day, Young Bucks. Get that dream match out of the way. But Also came out, interrupted them, heavily, heavily pointing out that Swerve is by himself and he has 9 people that do not like them. The 6 people in the demand now, which is Jay White, Blake Christian, and Lee Johnson. Yeah, Lee Johnson. So it looks like we're gonna get some mix of the demand, Swerve and his 2 partners, likely the New Day, and Hangman Bandito and Brody King at All In. That feels like the All In trios match right there. And honestly, it'll probably be a ladder match. If they're going to do all 3 teams, I wouldn't be shocked if it's a ladder match. But after that, we get a video of Mercedes attacking Willow from earlier today from an interview. Mercedes is good in ring. She's really good in ring. With that said, character-wise and on the mic, she peaked at NXT. And we're all holding on to the character work and promo skills of Mercedes Moné back in NXT. Out of the 4 horsewomen, this was a big issue with Charlotte too. She's never evolved character-wise. She's been the same exact character from NXT. She can't talk, and the character work is not good. But she can wrestle. She can wrestle her ass off. I'll give her that. She can wrestle. Everything else, no, is a no. This Willow Mercedes feud, it's cooled down. And that's probably expected because I don't think a lot of people were truly interested in this feud to begin with. Because it looks like Willow is going to drop it at All In. And on top of that, a lot of people probably don't like the fact that Tekla wasn't able to go in as champion to All In because they were hell bent on doing babyface versus heel and doing Mercedes versus Willow yet again for some reason. But we got that backstage segment right there, and then we move on to one of the worst TNT championship matches I've ever seen in my fucking life. In the existence of this championship, this was one of the worst matchups of this championship since its existence. Kevin Knight versus Chris Jericho. Kevin Knight picked up the win here. Cool, let's move on from that. Don Callis and Chris Jericho, for as experienced the both of them are, what the fuck was that? You can blame Don for getting in the ring like a fucking idiot on that end. Or you can blame Chris Jericho for having Kevin Knight so far out that Don Callis had to get in the fucking ring. Regardless of the fact, Chris Jericho, learn fucking collision, buddy. I'm sorry, you cannot be Chris Jericho. If this was any other person, they would be off TV. They would be on Collision, or they would be relegated to Ring of Honor. Chris Jericho is unwatchable. Unwatchable in ring and unwatchable everywhere else. He is not entertaining. He has not been entertaining since 2020. For like, you sit back and think about this. WWE just wanted him for a quick retirement tour and let Gunther beat him. That might have been his best option. Because all this dude is doing by continuing to go out there is hurt his own legacy. That's all he's done since 2020. All he's fucking done. He couldn't get a good feud out of MJF. He almost ruined Bandito. No one from the inner circle and no one from the Jericho Appreciation Society and no one from the Learning Tree has benefited in AEW from being with Chris Jericho. Sammy Guevara can't even get on television anymore. Jake Hager is pretty much out of the business. Mike Santana had to fucking leave. Ortiz is fine just floating in Ring of Honor. Angelo Parker and Matt Menard's pretty much a commentator at this point. Angelo Parker's practically retired. Brian Keith is pretty much Ring of Honor now. Big Cass or Big Bill left. Mike Santana, Gary brought him up, left. There's no one from any of those three groups that truly benefited from being with Jericho. It's been practically career suicide. Daniel Garcia couldn't last on his own. John Moxley is in the middle of trying to save him right now. Like, at what? Seriously, you had AEW legit pull Jeff Jarrett off of TV and he hasn't wrestled since because of how bad he was on television. How bad it was. Those segments between him and MJF, how fucking terrible it was. At some point, you gotta pull the plug on Chris Jericho. It's not good. For overrating that hardcore match between Ciampa and Jericho, the match wasn't good. It was just a car crash. He's had one solid match, maybe two, since his return. The first matchup with Ricochet, which he was fighting for his fucking life midway through because he was gassed. And then Ciampa at Beach Break, which is iffy. This is not the Chris Jericho that you watched in the 90s. This is not Save Us Y2J back in the mid 2000s. This isn't the list Jericho. This isn't Light Up Jacket Jericho. This is even Elite Champion Chris Jericho when AEW started. He has not been that guy for going on almost half a fucking decade now. Enough's enough. The name value, is the name value still even there? Because the last time that you had a bunch of casuals watch Chris Jericho, they're wondering why the hell he was fat. Granted for him, he's lost weight. But my God, enough's enough with the Chris Jericho shit. He doesn't need to be around this much. And I'm one of the people, I thought with Jericho being gone for almost a year, that, okay, time away, it will be better. He can reinvent himself, just like Jericho used to do back in his prime. That didn't work. We are 4 months in since Chris Jericho's return. Every time this fucking dude's on TV, it's one of the worst spots on Dynamite. It's not good television. He's not worthy of a spot on Dynamite anymore. Send his ass to Collision. And if he doesn't like it, time to talk retirement. You are in an important time in your company's existence with the Warner Brothers and Paramount merger looming over your head, with the threat of being potentially canceled and this deal ending and you losing your spot. Your shows, pretty much from here until whenever the quote unquote inevitable happens, should be showing you have value, showing that you are good television. Putting Chris Jericho on now is not good television anymore. Send his ass to Collision, send his ass to Ring of Honor, have him be Santa Claus, have him appear once a year if he still wants to wrestle. He should not be a main part of Dynamite. We should not be going on our way to make sure, whoa, what's Chris Jericho doing for the upcoming pay-per-view? Enough's enough. Get him the fuck off TV. Get him off it. He's not worth it anymore. And then for Don Callis, for as long as he's been in the business, what are you doing? Just yell to Chris Jericho, get your ass over the ropes. Don Callis rolling in made that worse. For as much as I'm completely shitting on Chris Jericho so far, what Don Callis did made that worse. It made it look worse than it really was. Because we've seen guys walk their opponents to the ropes or whatever, but not when it's so blatant like that was. And it looked so blatant because Don Callis fucked up. I mean, the fuck up's so bad. You got Brandon the heel who's getting almost 500,000 views off that clip that he recorded from watching the show tonight. Like, it's a viral moment you got a viral moment. Congratulations. You got it for the wrong reasons. You didn't get it for, hey, look what AEW is doing tonight. Look how great it. No, you got it because it's a fucking laughing stock at this point. Absolutely embarrassing. It goes back to my thing. This is another example. You don't need Don Callis 3 times a night. 1, maybe 2. 2, because he has 2 champions right now. That's it. He wasn't needing the opening segment. He fucked up tonight. I really don't know what Don Callis' real purpose is in AEW. Oh, he's a good heel. Is he really, though? Is he really, though? Or is it just go away booze? Because there's no one that Don Callis manages that you can sit there and be like, you know what, I hate him because he's associated with Don Callis. You don't got that. And I don't think you've ever had that when it came to Don Callis. No one hated Will Ospreay when he was in the Don Callis family. No one hates Kyle Fletcher. No one hated Takeshita. No one really hates Okada. They just think he's phoning it in at this point. There's no one that's in the Don Callis family you strictly hate because of Don Callis or because they're associated with Don Callis. But enough of this segment. This was fucking ridiculous. So we go to a Death Rider promo. Big, real nothing there. Just talking about the Continental Cup. How anything can happen. Yada, yada, yada. On the Statlander versus I forget the first name. Viva Van. Really a big nothing match. Statlander picks up the win. They announce a fatal 4-way for the TBS championship next week between Maya World, Hikaru Shida, Persephone, and Chris Statlander, which is somewhat hilarious because the next match was the tag team match that involved 3 out of the 4 participants in that match and the one person that's not in it is Thunder Rosa. So at that point is why was she in the tag match? Or if that's the case, why didn't she eat the pin? You didn't even give Maya World the win. You could have had Thunder Rosa eat the pin there. She was the only one that wasn't going to benefit from losing or even winning. But the Statlander match with Van was big nothing burger, and then this tag match was not good either. Does it continue with the 9 o'clock hour? How fucking bad it was. I see what they see in Maya World and the Maya World experiment next week. I would not be shocked. I also wouldn't be shocked if she retains and they continue it. But one thing out of all of this is Statlander saying she was made for the TBS champion. What a fall for Chris Statlander between a year ago and now. Someone who we thought would be a major player, a main event caliber player for the women's division, finally won the world title. Granted, it was kind of a spur of the moment kind of thing. It was unexpected, but it was also done at the wrong time, wrong spot here. Has a terrible world title reign. Okay feud with Tekla. And then now it then goes immediately to TBS Purgatory. Statlander went from something unique to just another girl there. There is nothing unique about Chris Statlander anymore in AEW. They ruined that. They absolutely ruined that. And I'm being like heavily negative with this because I know someone's probably gonna listen and be like, "Oh, it was WWE Mark." I trust me, if Raw was as bad as this, I would have been destroying Monday Night Raw. But you are weeks away from your biggest show of the year, and this is what you're giving us. It's not my fault that people expect something from AEW on a weekly basis. It's insane. Like most of their weekly shows aren't good, but their pay-per-views are some of the best events of the year. Not even close. Don't get me wrong. All in will be amazing. I'm not worried about all in shit in the bed because of how bad television's been. Once again, in-ring quality, pay-per-view, like AEW has that set. But how are you going to have people invested, get more people on board, potentially go and buy your events, people who are watching for the first time? Because if someone just randomly clicked it on during that 9 o'clock hour, they're never watching this shit again. They will never watch this product again if they just randomly jumped in 9 o'clock. It's the tip. Frankly, it is the tale of two shows here. 8 o'clock hour, which was okay. It was okay with a good match. And you got the 9 o'clock hour. Really, two stinkers and a Statlander squash. And then a lot of fucking videos and promos and shit. Like I'm at a loss for words for really what this show has been. Well, then we get our third Don Callis appearance of the night. Oh, wait, no, scratch that. We had a Darby Allen promo where now he's going to be taking on Kevin Knight at All in a Fall Count Anywhere match. I know they're probably going to have Darby win this. He should not. Kevin Knight needs to win this feud, solidify himself here. Or are you just going to sit there and have Kevin Knight, since his heel turn, lose not one, not two, but 3 straight pay-per-view matches? Think of that. Their second biggest show of the year, Double or Nothing, ended with Kevin Knight standing tall, turning heel, and attacking Darby Allin. That's how they ended their second biggest show of the year. And we're potentially on the verge of Kevin Knight, since then, losing 3 straight pay-per-view matches. They lost the, I don't know what the hell you call it, the fight pit. The big cage match they had between Team Briscoe and Team MJF. He lost to Omega. And then he could be losing a Darby here. But he's successfully defended the title on TV. He's been a great TV. He is a good TV champion. But when you end your second biggest pay-per-view of the year with this guy standing tall, turning heel, and solidifying him as potentially one of your next top stars and heels. And since then, on the big matches, the pay-per-views, being 0-3 is insane. But speaking of, once again, so we'll go back to the Don Callis family here. Next segment, Don Callis Fletcher. Callis informs him, all in. He will defend the title against Takeshita, but he was able to get something out of Tony Khan. It will be a triple threat match, including fellow Don Callis family member Kazuchika, not Kazuchika, Kazuchika Okada. So it is a triple threat between Fletcher, Okada, and Takeshita. Fletcher is leaving the Don Callis family next. It is clear. And it may happen at All In. And depending on if you're turning Osprey or if you're turning Omega, I don't know if that's a good idea. Turning Fletcher face. You need main event heels right now. You got MJF, maybe Mox. I don't know what the fuck Mox is at this point. And that's it. But your international championship match is set for All In. Fletcher, Okada, Takeshita. Main event, Jungle Jack Perry versus John Moxley. First round of the Continental Cup. Good match. Good match. Moxley picked up the win. Respect between Moxley and Perry at the end. Moxley advances. Moxley's guaranteed to be in this finals. They're not going to have Moxley not make it to the finals here. It's really a question of, are they going to pull the trigger and do Jay White, John Moxley, or are they going to try and do something else here? I'm on White versus Moxley as the finals. If I had to guess who Moxley's next round opponent is, I don't think they're going to do Mox versus Castagnoli next round. I think they might end up doing Moxley Eddie Kingston. And then I think your final four will end up being Jay White, Castagnoli, Moxley, and Orange Cassidy. But that is your AEW Dynamite. Did you enjoy the show? Did you? If you did, I mean, hats off to you. Your head's probably in the fucking sand at this point when it comes to AEW, and there's no getting you off the ledge here. It was a show, all right. I hope they come back with something better next week because you only have 2 Dynamites left before All In. Let it be compelling television. Main takeaways from tonight: they need to do something to reignite the flame in the Osprey Omega feud. I think I don't know if they do it next week. They're sure as hell not doing it the week after in Scotland. I think it's either next week or All In. We will get Kofi and Austin Creed's AEW debut. If I'm correct, maybe I missed it or it slipped my mind. We didn't hear anything about about the Bucks versus Cope and Christian match at all. No build, no nothing. That's interesting. Um, MJF Andrade should be its own match, but whenever they're going to kick off not Continental, the Casino Gauntlet, I don't think either should win. I don't think MJF should repeat as the Casino Gauntlet winner there, and I don't think Andrade should win. Who should win? I literally no fucking idea. I think it's a crapshoot at this point, but I don't think either of them should win that match. And then who? That's probably it for the main takeaways. Fletcher's pending babyface turn, I think, is coming, probably at All In. And then at this point, just go through the motions till we get Mercedes as champion, then figure it out from there. But yeah, that is your Dynamite breakdown. I will be back technically Friday for the Elite Sports Take drop. I'm going to talk about what's going on with the Laker sale and how sketchy that looks. The Clippers investigation, what the fuck is going on with the WNBA, and some NFL training camp thoughts. And then Friday and Saturday, we got the Friday Night Breakdown, your SmackDown review show. But until then, have a good night. Adios.